What is up, cinephiles, and welcome back to Screen Kings. For today's video, I'll be doing a capsule review of the few films that I've seen over the past few weeks. I think I'm gonna stick with this format if ever I get busy with life. Anyway, these are the films. The first one is Minions: The Rise of Gru, directed by Balda. Now, this is the second Minions film and I think the fifth film in the Despicable franchise. And what to expect about this movie? Basically, just pure silliness, unabashed fun, and a lot of physical comedy. We have here the aggressively cute minions led by Stuart, Kevin, and Bob, and Otto. And the plot is perfunctory, to say the best. We have this MacGuffin, and it's a golden medallion with jade stones. So I won't spill what this thing does, and frankly, I don't think there's really any in-depth to say when it comes to the plot, because this is just having fun. A movie that's made to entertain you for both kids and adults, mostly on the kids. When it comes to the visual gags, it keeps on coming. So if ever one of the jokes fell flat, expect another joke coming in. The animation is great. We've got some cool landscapes here, and I like the integration of the 70s elements here in the film. I think this movie is really retro, so maybe the parents out there might get a vibe while watching this movie. Gru is also here in his pre-pubescent era, as he aspires to be one of the members of the Sinister Six, and as usual, Steve Carell does a great job. As for the minions, you can't really expect for complex character developments here because they're just simple creatures, simple-minded. They're just made to tumble and bumble, and they have an arc here. They're basically going on a crash course of Kung Fu. We have here a character voiced by Michelle Yeoh, and I particularly enjoyed her moments in the film because it reminded me of Everything Everywhere All at Once, and I like to think this character as somewhat of a alternate universe character for Evelyn, so that really helped me enjoying the film. As for the runtime, it's just 90 minutes, and I think that's perfect because if you try to extend this film, it will become less funny. I think this movie is just tolerable enough. It didn't become unbearable like, say, the sequels for Hotel Transylvania's. But yes, of course, if you're one of those audiences who are not really fond of Minions, if you feel like you're insufferable, this movie will do little favors in changing or swaying your mind. So yeah, for me, I think at that moment I was having fun, but in the end, there's really nothing much here to look back. Honestly, the jokes are pretty surface level, but to be fair, I actually enjoyed this more than the first film. I remember disliking the first film, and I think this movie has more heart into it. And I think the challenge for this franchise now is they need to find a way to reinvent on how to make these characters more compelling, and to expand the plot. When it comes to the super villainy, maybe they might be coaching Gru here in his adolescent days. That is something that I can see, and I'm calling it as early as now because Minions is one of the most popular franchises, or the characters. It's very saleable. It won't be a surprise if there's another film after this. But for now, I'm gonna give this a 3 out of 5. If you're looking for that slapstick fun and a lot of silly humor, this will fit right into your alley. Now, next film is an Indian military action biopic called Major, directed by Sashi, Kiran, Tikka. Now, this one is based on the life of a hero named Sandeep Unikrishnan. He's an officer in the National Security Guards who fought the terrorists who attacked the Taj Mahal Hotel back in 2008, and that is a tragic moment in the history. Now, this is not the first film that I watched that deals with the Mumbai attack. I watched this film called Hotel Mumbai, and that is one of my hidden gem films in the channel. It's gritty. I was on the tip of my toes watching that film, but what differentiates Major from that film is that this film focuses on the life of the hero Sandeep Unikrishnan. So you see his growth from his early beginnings of a child wanting to join the Navy and eventually becoming a training officer. We are also introduced to his love interest who wants more than to be an army wife. So the first act of the film is a bit formula. It's a bit template when it comes to a biopic, and the movie tries its best to rush it to make it engaging by displaying some montages here, but personally I think they could have slimmed that down, because the interesting part of this movie is when it kicks onto the second act and it full switches into thriller mode. So it can be a bit of a trigger seeing a lot of people getting killed throughout this film, but it's all rooted with the realism and showing the dark things that happen during this attack. Now, admittedly, they try to romanticize the action here. While it's something that I enjoy in my typical Indian blockbuster films, seeing that transpire here in such a biopic, it feels not fitting in hindsight, because we're really looking for that realist route, and I think the movie kind of, I don't know, hyperbolize everything that happened in here. There are moments where Sandeep here went full Rambo just by himself against the terrorist. Obviously, I wasn't there, so I can't really judge what really happened, but it feels like they're trying to oversell this hero, and I think when the movie starts to do that, they start to shortchange the character. And for me, that is not the best approach. There are also some nonsensical things that happen in this movie where the order of hierarchy is ignored. You can see some subordinates throwing orders to their higher ups, and some decisions that are just made based on emotions and not really on logic. So it kind of takes me away, but on a thriller aspect, even though I know what's gonna happen, it still keeps you on your toes. I think the cinematography is excellent. It can go from a dreamlike state to something suffocating. Now, Adivi Sesh here, who acted the main role, I'm actually pleasantly surprised to know that he is also the one who wrote the script for this film, and I can really tell that he understood the assignment here, because he plays the character with conviction. And even though the movie sometimes sells him as overly patriotic, like, I understand the core of this character, that he is the type of man who lives and dies by his code. So that is something that's admirable, a true hero that should be etched in the history books. Though personally, I would enjoy the film more if it's more lean when it comes to tone, more consistent, more understated approach, because this movie has a lot of rousing speeches, misty eyes coming from the characters. But overall, I still enjoy this movie. I think it's a decent watch, so I'm gonna give this a 3 out of 5. Definitely worth watching just to see the hero behind this attack. Let's move to another biopic. This one is a musical biopic by Luhrmann. This is Elvis, and obviously it chronicles the life and career of Elvis Presley, played by Butler, as well as his complex relationship with his manager Tom Parker, played by Tom Hanks. Now this one, if you've seen Baz Luhrmann films like Moulin Rouge and The Great Gatsby, the thing that you need to expect is it's gonna be extravagant, it's gonna be flashy. So your enjoyment for this kind of film will depend if you can keep up to the speed of Baz Luhrmann, because this is a very glossy life of Elvis Presley, and I think this is probably the best way to do it, because we have here an iconic and a controversial character. He really had interesting roots. I didn't know going in that he grew up in a black community, exposing himself to the blues. That's why he became who he is and influenced a lot of musicians up to date. Now this one is just sensory overload of a lot of musical numbers, a lot of montages, the editing, a lot of split screens here. It almost feels like the visual cues for this movie are made to appeal to the Gen Zs, because there are a lot of things happening here. Even if it's 2.5-hour film, it's probably one of the fastest 2.5-hour film that I ever watched, because it's just quick. You know, there are moments in the film that I wish I can pause it, because there are so many elements in the frame that I wish to enjoy. Now, what I think that this movie could have benefited more is maybe more of those slow moments of introspections, because we have here a character that's mostly told on a third perspective. The narration here is Tom Hanks' character, Tom Parker, and I'm not sure if the director intended it to be that way because they're not sure if Austin Butler can carry the film, but I think Austin Butler can carry this film. Not to discredit Tom Hanks, I think Tom Hanks really transformed himself in this character. Really worth noting his makeup and hairstyling for this one. But Austin Butler, I think this is a star-making performance, and by now you might have heard that this guy has Boss for Best Actor, and you know, I haven't really seen a lot of Elvis performance, so I don't have a benchmark for that, but I can tell by the way he moves, the way he gyrates, his inflections, and his voice. He does his own singing here, that he really gave justice here to the character of Elvis Presley. Now, the songs, I enjoyed listening to them, even though I don't know all of them. I think my favorite would have to be That's Alright and If I Can Dream. The thing that I didn't like about the music though is, well, there are moments in the film that they're pulling up this anachronistic songs, some rap and urban hip-hop, which I felt like is a bit unnecessary. I think they're doing it to appeal to the younger audiences, but for me it just takes me away into that mood of that era, and I wish that the movie just stuck to maybe having new artists doing covers of Elvis Presley songs to modernize it. That will fit the movie more. So overall, in its 3 hours of runtime, this one is really worthy to catch it on the cinema because you get a lot of stuff in this film, a lot of performances. In terms of being a biopic, this is a little bit more subversive. It might be a bit exhausting to watch, but for me, I enjoyed it. So I'm gonna give this one a 4 out of 5 stars. Occasionally, it feels indulgent, but you can't deny that this movie is entertaining from start to finish. Now, the last film that I have for you guys is an indie film from Apple TV Plus. It's called Cha-Cha Real Smooth. Directed, written, edited, and starred by Kufur Rafe. I don't know who this guy is, but the fact that he did all those 4 functions in the film is just impressive because he really pulled off his vision throughout the film, and apparently this is his second film. So I gotta watch his first film. He's definitely on my radar now as one of the young filmmakers to watch out for because he did this film in just his mid-20s, and to see his sensibilities and his maturity in crafting a story, you can tell that he really cared about these characters because the script is engaging. They have really interesting characterizations, and the way he subverts the genre, because this is some sort of a coming of age and a rom-com, so there's no cliches here. There's just a lot of offbeat humor that I really enjoy. At some point, I thought this movie is gonna be one of those that romanticize the cheating in relationships, and I'm really glad it didn't go into that route. And by the end, this movie, it just feels like a warm hug. It's not a picture perfect ending. There's still melancholy in it, but the realizations that this movie arrived by the end is something that's just fulfilling for me. So I forget to tell what this movie is all about. Basically, we have Kufur Rafe playing a directionless college graduate. He works as a bar mitzvah party host, and he strikes up a friendship with this older lady played by Dakota Johnson and her autistic daughter played by Vanessa Berghart. And even though this film is just mostly about conversations, hanging out, I really enjoy the company of these characters, especially this three. Kufur Rafe as Andrew here, I think he has good comedic chops. I like the way he caters himself as this good-natured but some sort of a man-child, and you know, a bit nerdy. And then we have here Dakota Johnson, who I noticed dabbles on the roles of troubled woman, which to successful results. She makes the character captivating. And Vanessa Berghart, I like her performance here. She's really relaxed. This movie, you can file it onto the cabinet of young adults feeling directionless in life. There are a lot of things that can be said here and can be learned by audiences regardless of their age, because during our early years, we tend to tie our happiness with others, you know, when it comes to dealing with the disappointments brought by life and being okay with settling for less than perfection, because that doesn't mean that your life is over. So I think this movie takes into a heartfelt, sincere, and really endearing comfort cinema. So I'm gonna give this a 4 out of 5. It feels sometimes a bit rough on the edges, but that's okay because he's still a budding filmmaker, and I hope producers will notice him and give him all the budget he needs because this guy is really amazing. So yeah, that's it for my 4 film reviews. How about you guys? Have you seen any of these films? Let me know what you think in the comment sections down below. Also, if you enjoyed watching this video, hit that like and subscribe to me for weekly reviews of movies. And I try to do TV shows too soon. So yeah, thank you so much guys for watching. Until then, I'll see you all on the next one.